Hello everyone. We've been thinking about rocks and stones in junior church these last few weeks. Have you ever seen something like this? It's called a memorial stone, which really just means a remembering stone because it helps us to remember something that happened a long time ago. This one in Chipping Campden reminds us of the names of soldiers who gave their lives in the war 100 years ago. Or you may have seen a pile of stones like this on top of a big hill. Sometimes they're built by climbers to show that they reached the top. But it could be that they're used as remembering stones to remind people that there's something special about that place. See if you can look out for any remembering stones in this week's story. We're going to go back in time in the Old Testament to the book of Joshua, chapter 3. And it's quite a familiar story about a man called Joshua leading the people of God across a great big dangerous river. It might be in your children's Bible at home, but I'm going to try and act out the story with some little figures. Maybe you can have a go later. God had rescued his people from being slaves in the land of Egypt, but they'd been camping in the dry desert for many, many years with nowhere to call home. But now God was ready to lead them into the lovely green land he had promised to give them. The first problem was there was a great big gushing river in the way. How would they get across? They had no boats and there was no bridge. But God had a plan, and he spoke to a man called Joshua about it. Now, if I were Joshua, I would choose my strongest men to cross the river first. But God told Joshua to send the priests carrying the Ark of Covenant. This was a special golden box which symbolized God being with the people. It was normally kept in a special tent where they worshipped God. It was so special, when it was moved, it was carried on 2 poles so that it would not be touched by anyone's hands. So Joshua obeyed God, and he told the people to come out of their camp and follow the priests carrying the golden box down to the edge of the river. It was a bit like they were following God. God didn't tell them what would happen next. They just had to follow. Anyway, the water was coming down from the hills very fast, and the river was a bit flooded. You might have seen some flooded rivers recently. So it was very wide. And when the priests came to the edge, they stepped into the river. As soon as they did, the water coming down rose up in a great big heap further upstream. And then the rest flowed away. The priests could walk into the middle of the river, and they were standing on dry ground. Then all the people could cross over while the priests stayed in the middle. Wow, what a miracle! The people looked about them at the new land. They'd managed to cross the river, but they were not out of trouble yet. They still had to fight the enemy living in the land, and they didn't have an army. They were going to need help from God with that too. Maybe that's why, as soon as they got across, God told them to do something a little bit odd. He asked them to get 1 strong man from each tribe, which is like a family group, to go back into the riverbed and find a large stone to carry back on their shoulder. There were 12 family tribes, and so 12 stones were collected. Once they collected the stones, the priests walked out of the middle of the river, and the river flowed back into place. Then they set up the 12 stones in a great big pile in the new land. God told them, when your children come to you saying, "What are these stones here for?" you can tell them, this is where all God's people crossed this huge river on dry ground. Because of this, everyone on the earth will know how great the Lord's power is and will honour the Lord your God forever. Well, God knows that people are forgetful, and that's why he asked Joshua to build a pile of remembering stones so that the people could remember what a powerful God they had on their side. And do you know what? I think we can be forgetful too. Well, at least I can anyway. It's so easy to forget all the good things that God has done for us and then lose hope when we see a big problem in the way, a bit like the big River Jordan. But when we do remember what he's done in the past, it can help us to keep hoping for the future. Perhaps you can spend a little bit of time now thinking of all the good things that Jesus has done. It can be things he's done for you or for others, or some of the amazing things he did in the Bible. See if you can think of 12 things, just like the 12 stones, and make a list. I've started to make a list here, and I've got, he showed me what to do when I felt confused. He's forgiven me. He sent someone to help me when I had a flat tire one day. I've got a few more to think of. Next, maybe you could go for a walk and see if you can find 12 smooth stones. Now, when you get back, you could write something on each stone. Then you could build a remembering stone pile, or you could put them in a glass jug. Then, if you take one stone out each day and read it, it will remind you how good God is, and you can rehearse his goodness every day. Or maybe you could collect some other objects to help you remember. It's up to you. Anyway, I hope to see you next time. Bye!